welcome back to the Nail Chronicle for my very first design, my very first Halloween design of 2020. So this design is the Cabinet of Curiosities, filled with creepy creatures and interesting oddities. So I started out with some basic stamping on this one. I wanted to incorporate the title of the plate. I thought it was kind of cool onto my nail. So I did a diagonal stamp. It didn't quite capture the whole word. It was a little bit too big, so a bit of shrinking would have worked here, but it kind of still looks cool. So I'm using just a standard white polish. I picked this up from Priceline a few years ago. It was just in the bargain bin and I needed a white polish at the time. And it's sort of become my white stamping polish. It doesn't always work 100%, but it does the job generally. So you may notice some jump cuts through this video, and that's just because I had a little bit of trouble at times and just had to stop filming until I could get the image onto the stamping mat where I was happy with it. So I ended up doing 3 stamped images and then 2 reversed images. So of the reversed images, I did the lungs, which I'm just stamping onto the mat now, and also a brain. And so I'll go over like the colors that I used in a moment. If you are having trouble picking out the images, you can use techniques like doing them really quickly, or changing the angle, changing the amount of polish that you're using. Sometimes less is more, and sometimes you need a little bit more polish on there just so it has enough to actually pick up the image. One last technique is to change the stamper that you're using. So sometimes the more solid stamper, like the Conad ones, they will pick up a little bit easier. Other times the clear one might work better. So just experiment and see what works, and maybe it's the polish, it just won't work for stamping. It's just a bit of experimenting. So for the reverse stamping, I moved on and used a Natio polish. It's a really nice nude and it's got a bit of a pink shade to it. So I thought it would be perfect for that brain. It's kind of that sort of flesh color. And so I also decided to fill in the little dots around the outside. So I also used this polish for the other side or one of the sides of the lungs. And I only did one side because the other one's filled with like flowers and leaves that you'll see I'll fill in a second. And so I wanted to keep one side lung and one side sort of pretty flowers, as much as you can make a lung pretty. I used the red OPI polish. I think it's called Tell Me About It Stud, which is an awesome name. And I end up using the same polish on the heart, which you may get a slight glimpse of on my other hand, which is white, so you can see a little bit of red there. So it will dry a nice, really deep sort of dark red, which is perfect for flower, and a little bit more of a gothic style red, which is perfect for Halloween. And then I'll move on to using a green polish just for the outsides of the leaves. So in terms of technique, if you haven't used the dotting tools before, make sure you've got enough polish on the dotting tool, but also you don't want too much. If you're not sure, do a little bit of practicing and give it a go. And some polishes you'll find are really thin, so that you'll have to constantly reapply polish to the dotting tool. Others are thick and will just really hang on to that dotting tool. So just give it a go and see sort of what works and see how the polishes react. Because the OPI polishes have fairly similar formulas, I've gotten used to their formula, and I've gotten used to how they work on this dotting tool, and so it makes things a little bit easier. I applied a clear over the top, waited for a little while for it to dry, and as you saw, it peeled up really nicely. And I just popped it on my nail. Because this one was so big and my nails are actually quite curved, it's hard to get it on there without creasing. So just in the clear sections, I put a couple little slits. I don't show this on camera just because it was too hard to film and not accidentally cut my hands when I was doing this. But it just makes it a little bit of a smoother finish. So if you have got an image that's huge like this, try and make it as small as you can, or do a little slide cut in the on the edge of it where it's clear and where it's not part of the main sort of coloured image. I then picked up the brain and put this onto my other hand. I'm tossing up whether I like the brain or the lungs better. I'm leaning towards the brain. I'm a bit happy with how it turned out. It looks kind of cool and a little bit realistic. And again, this one had a little bit of the same issue as the lungs, in that it was such a big decal that because of my hands or because of my nails being curved, I had the same problem. So I just cut the little bits around it and just made sure that it was as smooth as possible when I picked it up. Sometimes if you pick up the decal too early, it'll be hard to replace, so just be careful when you are putting it down, and just be really gentle when you start pushing it down onto the nail, that you don't smudge it, particularly if it's still a little bit wet. So to finish off this design, I applied a Menology smudge-free top coat. I've only just started using this and I'm in love with it. It's so good. Previously I was using OPI start to finish. I'm now more using that as my base coat or a top coat if I'm not doing any stamping. If I'm doing stamping, the Menology one's the way to go. I have seen people occasionally get smudging with it, and it's probably because they're touching the brush onto their hand too much. Try and just be really gentle with it and let the polish just sort of float across the top of the nail. But you don't have to worry about it as much as a normal sort of top coat. So here's a picture of the gruesome brain as part of the design. I really hope you enjoyed this one. I hope this gave you some Halloween inspiration. And a picture of the lungs, so let me know which of the two are your favorite, and let me know if you're going to be doing any Halloween nail art. I recently created a new post on my blog that features all of my nail art from previous years, so if you're stuck for ideas, go and check that out. Be inspired, and if you do create any of the designs, please tag me in. I'd love to see them. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. It's very much appreciated. Until next time, we'll have another special Halloween scary nail art for you next week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you then. Bye!